we're back for another episode of the Bad Ideas podcast with Timmy Rupeiks. How you doing, Timmy?
Awesome, Nick. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you here with clear
Glad to be
audio and
here.
video, so we can
I
riff
hope
on
so.
things.
Yeah.
We were just talking. You hail from the great state of Florida, which I think we're both a big fan of. But you're
Yes.
bi-coastal. Started California, then Florida. Just
Yeah.
exclusively living in beautiful places. Is that the
Yeah. I
criteria?
mean, I chase the sun, Nick. I can't be without the sun, man. I grew up in LA, close to Glendale. Loved the big city. Went to
Yeah,
school at Santa Clara up in Northern California.
yeah,
Afterwards, went abroad to South America to do some volunteer work, also on the coast in Peru.
yeah.
And I came back to Florida because I like the sun, man.
It's beautiful. I think
Yeah.
this is what happens when you don't see enough sun. But
Yeah.
we have that on hard record. I got to get back down south.
There you go.
Um, so co-founder of Mango Chamba. What do you guys do?
Yeah. So I guess I'll tell you kind of the origins of the name real quick, just because
Yeah.
it might give you a hint, right? So chamba is slang in Spanish for work. So
Okay.
man go work is a kind of irreverent name for
Ah.
a talent solutions organization. I've been doing staffing and
Ah.
staff augmentations, recruitment, executive search. Been doing that for close to 20 years now, in different organizations, and so we wanted to create something a little bit irreverent, a little bit fun. We
Mhm.
obviously work hard and we hustle. Our kind of tagline is "Let's get to work." So
Yeah.
we're not afraid of work, but we also want to have a little fun along the way. So we
Yeah. It's
we,
a
we
fantastic name. I'm a fan of the name.
people ask us, do we make smoothies sometimes, right? I mean, the thing about talent solutions or staffing is that it can be, um, how do I say this? For so many companies, we're a necessary evil, right? They don't really want to pay for us, our services, but they
But they
need them.
have to. They
Right,
have
they need
to.
them. They need them. They
Yeah.
need good talent, right? And so,
Mhm.
but if in certain cases, if they can do it on their own, they will.
Mhm.
But this way, it gives us an inviting feel, right? People are asking me when I have my shirt on or I have my laptop stickers on, and they're like, "What do you do? What does the company do?" Right? So it gives them a window to kind of approach us, and we're not
Yeah.
these stage five clinger staffing types that don't know how to leave people alone. Like
Yeah.
we look for partners essentially, right? That
Mhm.
that want to work with us and we want to work with them. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's rewind the clock a little bit. You've had some
yeah,
incredibly senior roles at some really, really big companies. Talk us through the career, like how you got here and how you got to the place where you're like, all right, we're going to do this differently. We're going to start it from
yeah,
scratch.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the time. Walk us through.
So let's see. Post college, I actually came back to Florida, and I after the
Yes.
volunteer stint, yeah, after the
Yeah.
volunteer stint, I came back here. I worked at a nonprofit, right? And
Mhm.
in that nonprofit, I was recruiting. This is like an AmeriCorps program, so I was
Yeah.
recruiting folks to give a year of volunteer service, and recruiting the nonprofits and making a match between those two, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so that was kind of my first foray into the recruitment space. I had met a friend some years back, and she introduced me to. She used to work at Robert Half, and she had left
Yeah.
and started Vaco, which was, at the time, I think 5 offices when I joined.
Okay.
When I left, they were $500 million company.
Slightly,
And
slightly bigger.
slightly bigger,
Slightly.
slightly bigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was fortunate. I had good tutors. I took lots of notes. I hustled,
Mhm.
and when I left Vaco, I was the number 3 producer in the nation for technology.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate to have some good tutors and mentors along the way, and I was able to do that. I wanted to do something different, so I took a break from the staffing world and went to a software startup that did really cool visualizations. Using our visual context to
Yeah.
make quick decisions. Like a visual
Yeah.
dashboard, almost a
Mhm.
dashboard and pictures. Um, Learned a lot there, but also then had my first kid. My baby girl came along, And it was startup life, and it's not, the promise of equity and the decisions and the shifting and the
Yeah.
pivots and all this stuff. There's so much going on. I had to make a move, so I went and I joined a boutique marketing agency and sold SEO, pay per click, Google Ads,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. And then started, my non compete expired, so went back into doing some staffing, and then got lured over by the folks at Boundary to do some staffing work for them. Um,
Mhm.
and when I left them, I was president of the staffing division, had sold Salesforce. We had started up another entity that did Salesforce consulting. And so I
Mhm.
was actually splitting my time. I was doing um, Salesforce consulting and staffing sales. So I was doing both. And Nick, it was all 100% commission based. So everything I did, if I didn't hunt it, I didn't eat, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I had to make some different decisions in terms of what I focused on, because Salesforce Solutions is a great business. It's time intensive, and I didn't quite have the right comp structure for
Mhm.
what I needed to do. So I focused on staffing, and then through just different life situations, the wife and I decided, hey, we wanted to take a more global approach. So
Mhm.
and to do it, because the the way I see it now is um, we're going through a shift, right? AI is changing everything. We know that,
Yeah.
right? And so um, to me, it feels like we're in a state of where we're at two poles, right? It's either really small, kind of nimble boutique organizations, whether they be staffing software, otherwise, and then you have these huge, multinational global entities. There's not really a whole lot in that middle space, because the big ones gobble up the middle guys, right? And so they're just constantly
Yeah.
pulled into rolled up and rolled up and rolled up. I mean, all these PE firms are doing
Yeah.
roll-ups of 4, 5, 6 companies, roll them up. You have one big larger entity,
Yeah.
and so we decided that it was time for us to. Um, it was time for us to be in the driver's seat. If I was going to be commission only, you might as well be the owner.
The
So
king. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's good to be the king sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People don't realize
sometimes.
how much liability you take on as being the
I
king.
know.
That's another story. What's
Yeah,
exciting about what you do, and it's cool that you've bounced into three different categories. So like finding the people, then seeing the work that people do. I think what's interesting about marketing and the marketing side of things is it's the purest form of sales, especially
yes,
SEO, because it's
yeah,
very known. So like your success is exclusively based on your talent as a salesperson,
right,
versus like staffing. Sometimes if you find somebody amazing, they make the job a lot easier. And then you went to the tech side of things, which is kind of like a weird hybrid of the two. You have good
right,
people and good sales to make something out of
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
So you've been kind of like on all sides of our current economy
yeah,
over your career, which is super
yeah,
cool. And what I think is happening, you mentioned the polls, but we talk about AI. You and I talked about this when we met for the first time.
yeah,
Um, Everyone's afraid, oh my God, AI is going to take my job. And I think if you're not a lawyer or a CPA, you really don't have to worry too much about AI taking your job,
yeah,
because it's going to produce so much crap. It's going to create an entirely new category of people whose job it is to supervise the AI and
right,
make sure that
sure,
all the stuff they're making isn't crap.
sure,
And I think people aren't looking at that, and the tech is going so fast that all of a sudden, like Microsoft's going to wake up and realize we just laid off 10,000 developers, but we need 10,000 people to supervise what
right,
ChatGPT is producing because it's moving so
right,
damn fast. And then they're
right,
going to be like, we don't have hiring infrastructure for this. We need to call Mango Chamba. Like
yeah.
that wave
I'm,
is building every day, and nobody's doing anything about it.
yeah. So I'll tell you two things. One thing that you mentioned from a sales perspective and the marketing.
Yeah.
One of my buddies made a really interesting comment about the staffing business, because he
Mhm.
says it's the only sale that the product can say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean, in most cases, you have a known and an unknown, and you're selling a
Yeah.
known thing to an unknown buyer, right? Or you're getting to
Mhm.
know that buyer. In staffing, you have two unknowns. You have this person who may or may not take your job, and you had a client that may or may not hire this resource or need that
Yeah.
resource from a contract basis. So it's a really interesting um,
Yeah.
balancing act. Like, they say Zig Ziglar said, focus on other people getting what they need, and you'll in the end get what you need. And that's, I think, a super helpful staffing analogy, is that you're able to you have to take yourself out of the equation, and you really have to
Yeah.
focus on the candidates and the clients to focus on that. But
Yeah.
to the AI piece, man, it's really weird, Nick, because I agree with you on a lot of that, and then there's some aspects and some sides of the equation where, man, I'm not so sure. Like it's look
Like
at
what?
look at manufacturing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
look at what Tesla's doing with the robotic
The robots.
builds
Uh-huh.
on the machine. Look at what Amazon's doing with the factories and all the robots that are there. I mean, robots and AI are creeping on to lots of things that humans had to exclusively do, right?
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
so, I agree with you in the sense that, the humans are going to be involved, but we're going to have to take a different position. I was talking to a
Absolutely.
prospect. Yeah,
Absolutely.
talking to a prospect the other day, and he was saying, hey, he's a technical CEO. He's got a team of developers, and he decided to vibe code, and well, meaning he was going to use AI to do some coding and get through some of the requirements from their software development lifecycle. He got
Mhm.
more done leveraging AI and having different things than the team did
Mhm.
doing it the traditional way, right? So if the developer wants to hold on to the traditional way, and the business owner wants to do it the
For
new
sure.
way, that's where I think we have some of that tension, right? Is,
Mhm.
will the developer come on over to the side of, yeah, I'll supervise AI doing some of this coding, or will they want to be a purist and say, no, I'm here to write beautiful code. I
Yeah.
don't want to supervise a tool doing my job, right? So
Yeah.
it's it's a really interesting time, to
Yeah.
to be doing stuff, right?
Yeah. It's an exciting time though. I think I'm.
It is.
You know, have you seen the video stuff, like the Google VO3
Oh,
clips that are coming out
in,
now?
incredible. I mean, I'm
It's
thinking people can
amazing.
make movies. They can make movies with just
Literally.
AI. Yeah.
Literally. So you think about that versus like Avatar cost what, $1 billion to produce.
Right.
You're not going to make Avatar in your living room on
I,
Google
I know.
VO.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what if you could make 80% of that? What if you've got like 3,000
Right.
editors making 80% avatars that they can release on Netflix? Like Netflix is licking their chops right now. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
they can produce a movie an hour. You know,
yeah, it changes the whole creator consumer dynamic, right? I mean, this is where I
hmm
think, um, uh, gosh, I wish I had a better, less rated R example, but OnlyFans,
yeah,
right? I mean, it basically took an industry and gave those folks, with their camera recorder, they're now an actor
the
or an
producer.
actress,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Or their producer or whatever, right? So I think AI is going to, open up and usher a new era of creativity and of
yeah.
creation. Um,
hmm
I I just I don't know, from a shift perspective, um,
yeah.
are we all going to go along for that shift? It's also why, you know, um, I don't want to just self promote here, but I'm working on a book. It's almost done. I call it
Yeah.
impact led career.
Yeah.
And the idea was, I'm seeing all these things happening, and if we don't like the impact that our work has on the world, then we're probably not in very good alignment in terms of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think AI is making it so that we have
We
to ask
can.
ourselves,
Yeah.
do I like the impact that I'm making? And if not, what can I do that would allow me to kind of live my life? And obviously, I'm not blind to the fact you got to make money and you got something that the
Yeah.
world wants too. But I think these new avenues are coming about, you know?
Yeah, I could not be more aligned. I think the primary focus of human work in the near future is creative,
Right.
and whether that's creatively finding a way to solve a problem, or creatively finding a way to evaluate, or just creating something new.
Yeah.
I think, just as AI is going to dramatically reduce the cost of creating movies, you brought up Amazon. I think the cost to manufacture products is going to fall to the floor. It's going to make everything
Yeah.
so cheap that, like, human need is going to be supervisory, or building new systems, or designing the new products that we have. It's going to be uh, a major premium placed on creativity, because production costs are going to go through the floor. It's going to be fun.
And I also think the other thing that's not really talked a lot about though is an aspect of community, right?
Hmm.
Of how do I say this? Like all these things we buy on Amazon, how much of that stuff is from FOMO or because someone else has it, or like
Yeah.
all of our consumption, well, not all, a lot of our consumption can be driven by this need to keep up with other folks. And if we
Hmm.
start creating things and we're more connected, because I think as a society, we're um, we're hyper connected electronically, but not really connected. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's almost
there's
like the tech has pushed us away from each other,
yeah,
which is
yeah. Like I
crazy.
I won't forget, Nick. I went to a startup weekend thing one time, and
Oh
this
God.
this young guy had it was the crew loved it. Everybody there was voting for it. He says, I want to create a tool that will allow you to go into a restaurant and talk to people without talking to people. And for me, it was because he wanted to be able to ask them, hey, what's good? What do you like? And it's not a bad concept in terms of, it was kind of like maybe a, a just in time Yelp, or a just in time Google
Hmm.
review. What's good kind of a thing. What do you like? But just the fact that people were so behind, how do I talk to
Talk
people
to
without
somebody.
talking to people? Yeah, like it
Yeah.
was it was
Yeah.
so hard for them to want to talk to people. And I'm kind of the annoying guy who will say, excuse me, ma'am, that looks really good, what is that, right? Or
Yeah.
ask the waitress, hey, that looks really nice, what is that? And then maybe they'll hear me and they'll say, oh, it's really good, or
Yeah.
so like I want that live interaction
Yeah.
and that live feedback. But I'm also a little older, man.
I think
The
I think everyone secretly does, and I think that's why podcasting has taken off. And partially
yeah,
because it's so cheap to produce content, but
right,
also, people watch this, and even though it's just Timmy and Nick jamming on something random, like, they
right,
feel like they're in a conversation again, and
yes.
like, it's created that social environment again. So secretly, I think people do want that. They just don't know how to get it again.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, this hopefully creates community with
Hmm.
somebody, right?
Yeah.
Um, but in some ways, it's almost like it's a false community, right? Because
We don't know
we're
you.
not,
It's just us
we don't,
two.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're not connecting with them. You and I
Yeah.
now have a real human connection, but it's like, to me, that human connection, and that's where I think, the whole conversation about, in-person work, hybrid, remote, like it's
Mm.
not a simple conversation, man, because as humans we need connection. The
Yeah.
young people need to be trained and to be taught and to have that kind of mentorship, apprenticeship stuff from someone who's been there, done that, and it's really
Mhm.
hard to do that over a video
Mhm.
call.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We do this. So our team's fully remote. We've been fully
Yeah.
remote since 2017. So before it was cool to
Okay.
be remote,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we were doing it.
You're
And
OG.
what this is like 4 years ago. We had a team member in Colombia who was like, "We're all good people. We all have interesting stories, but we never talk as a group." So she organized like a Wednesday 30-minute call where everyone just comes together to play games for half an hour.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people stayed with the company for like a year and a half just because of that conversation.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
like being a
Because
part of that meant
we
something to them, you know.
we crave connection so much, man. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a part of our kind of our wiring and our DNA, and it's why I'm running impact led career, because I think we crave impact. I'm not suggesting we're all going to be Van Gogh, and we're all going to be famous, but I mean, gosh, even just the role of parenting, you're impacting your kid, like
Yeah.
that's huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's why you put in the blood, sweat, and tears to do these things, is because of that impact, because you feel that there's going to be some kind of um, return, right, on you investing that time. So
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a hard one to navigate. First of all, side note, appreciate you opening up all these really like impactful and heavy depth topics.
yeah,
Because I mean, it's great, especially given the background, and you're talking about a space that's crowded with a lot of super persistent salespeople, and to hear the founder and leader of multiple companies at that level talking about like the human side of working and working with purpose is a pretty special thing. So that's my side comment.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
but then I wanted to dive back into like, and we will get to the bad idea. We're just talking about too many good
Yeah,
things
yeah,
beforehand.
it's good.
Um,
Let's do
no,
it,
but
man.
I wanted to dive back into purpose. You're talking about
Yeah,
impact. You're writing a book on impact.
yeah.
Um, I think a lot of the things like vices that we have, things we bury ourselves in, like social media or
Hmm.
reality TV shows or whatever, are easy ways we find to distract ourselves from internal messaging.
Right.
Um, and you're talking about purpose and impact. I think like gut instinct is a real thing. There's a lot of
100%.
physics that can prove that it's real, but like your
Yeah.
body tells you when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if you constantly
Yeah.
feel the need to go hide, then you're
Yeah.
probably not on track. So listen to it,
Yeah.
figure out where it wants you to go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer in intuition. I
Yeah.
think I try to teach my kids that intuition. I tried to teach folks that I was mentoring, hey, you gotta trust that gut.
Mm.
Um, the flip side, or the kind of the caution, if you will, is that feelings can be treasonous. They can be traitors, feelings,
No, for
right?
sure.
Because fear or insecurity or limiting beliefs, I mean, it's not always it's not always going to feel good, right? But I think, kind of to your point, there's that kind of deeper connection to, it doesn't feel good necessarily, but it feels right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it right isn't always going to feel good. A lot of times you're going to question, what am I doing here? I mean, if you're
Yeah.
really authentic and honest with yourself, you're going to have to experience doubt, right?
Hmm.
Or frustration. I mean, you know, sometimes I think, having lived in Latin America and lived here, we are we're trained here in the States. We're always good. It's always positive. It's always upbeat. And it's almost maybe because of how we say things. Like in English, you would say, I am depressed. In Spanish, you would say estoy deprimido, which means I feel depressed, or I'm in a momentary state of depression, right?
Yeah.
Even how we say things, we're not allowed to say things. If we say something like that, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, Timmy's
Who?
got to go to,
Yeah.
yeah, Timmy's got to
Yeah.
go to the hospital. He's got to get on medication. Something's wrong with him. Like, and there may be times where you need medication and you got to go to the hospital. But there's also times where it's just a part of human life, man, that we're going to be
Yeah.
down and we're going to be frustrated and we're going to be hurt or whatever. And our emotions are so, I mean, look, if I argue with my kids or my wife, it colors my day in terms of what I get done or not don't get done. So how is, some other bigger issue not going to just color my life? You know what I'm saying? Like our
Yeah,
inside life is such a big part that we kind of just ignore.
yeah,
But it 100% impacts our external life and our work life.
yeah.
So
I just looked up real quick this book. This is actually one of my favorite books. It's really heavy,
yeah.
so don't read it unless you're on like a vacation for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But it's called Reality Transurfing, and the author's Vadim Zealand.
Okay.
And he's a physicist, but he describes exactly what you're talking about, like doubt, limiting beliefs, and so on,
Yeah.
and intuition, in a really clean way that I like. Um,
Huh.
like doubt, limiting beliefs, fear, all of those things
Yeah.
are thoughts. Thoughts come from the
Yeah.
mind. Your
Yeah.
intuition comes from your heart,
Right.
which it's a metaphor that he's using, but it quite literally resonated because you can distinguish the difference based on where it's coming from. Like if you're
Right.
physically getting a pull from your heart, maybe you listen to that differently than, oh my god, I'm going to
But
run out of money next month. That's
no,
one
yeah,
difference.
but right, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
the danger of going all heart, right?
Oh, for
Is,
sure.
I mean, that's also where like affairs happen. You know what I'm saying? Because your heart, it gets fluttered for this person who's not your spouse, right? And you got
Yeah.
to listen to your heart because your heart tells you you got to go do that. Well,
Yeah.
that might not
Yeah.
be your heart. That might be a couple regions down. Like
Yeah. Don't listen to
it's
that. As a
you're
man,
right.
never listen to
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But it's just, this is where I think, like uh, meditation or reflection like helps you decipher, like, let's be
Find your
real.
way.
What's really going on here? Am I running from something? Because a lot of times too,
Mhm.
we think we're running to something, but we're running away from. We're going away from the problem,
Crazy.
and we're going. We think we're going to solution, right? So
I gotta read your book. I am supremely intrigued now. So you have to let
cool.
me buy
I,
a
I
copy of
try to
it
get
sometime.
practical and a little bit,
Yeah.
I try to give people a little bit of I'll give you a quick little analogy that I give in the book that I think you might
Yeah.
appreciate is, um, there's soccer cultures and there's football cultures. Okay.
Mhm.
So the I read an article when I was in Latin America, and it just struck me so, like, boom, it just hit me right in
Yeah.
between the eyes. Is that U.S. culture is much more like American football. We're specialized. You have different roles and different things you play. I mean, when you have big companies, you're not going to have one person doing five different things. You have, you know, siloed. Hey,
Yeah.
you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. It's like a football team. You have a lineman, you have a quarterback, you have running backs, you have receivers. Everyone has their roles. Defense, same thing.
Do
In
your job.
soccer,
Yeah.
yeah, in soccer, it's much more like startup culture, or it's much more flexible because yes, you have a quote unquote position on the field, but everyone plays offense, everyone plays defense. Anybody can score, anybody can stop a goal. I mean, it's much more fluid in terms of
Yeah.
what happens on the pitch, what your role is. It might be where you start, but gosh, defense runs up, passes the ball to the middle. They've got the most assists on the team because they're making runs and they're passing the ball in and they're scoring goals. So, from a corporate perspective, you want to understand: am I in a soccer culture or a football culture? Because then you're going to know, hey, if I'm the janitor, can I become the CEO at this company? If they're in a football culture, it's going to be really hard because they're not going to see you, they're not going to allow you to make those different shifts along the way.
Yeah.
If you're in a soccer culture, it's much more malleable and flexible, and there's not as much resistance to you making that shift in your career. So if you want to change positions, look for a soccer culture organization that you could
Mhm.
then go from defense to striker or striker to defense, for example.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. I
Yeah,
really like that.
people have. I think I've shared that, and they've resonated. Like, oh yeah, I remember this culture fought my shift from this role to this role, and this other company didn't. They loved that I made that move. So like you can
Hmm.
almost, again, intuit and feel the acceptance or resistance to your own personal career
Yeah.
shifts based on the culture of the company you're with.
Yeah, and that gives you a path. You listen to your gut. Are you in the right place or not? If you're not,
Yeah,
do you need to make a
yeah,
change? Find a
yeah,
soccer culture.
yeah.
There you go. All
So
right, we're learning.
or a different football culture because you want to change positions, whatever. But it
Yeah.
is, again, I try to be real and give folks some kind of I call it maybe spiritual or higher level kind of things, as well as some practical hands-on, because it's not just
I mean,
all
that's
pie in the
that's
sky
life.
stuff.
It's a
Yeah,
bit of
man, it's
both.
life.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah, both
All
and
right.
is
Well,
I'm a big believer in both and.
let's get some real and practical advice on our bad
Let's do
idea
it,
real
man.
quick.
Here
What
we
do you
go.
think? You
What's
you
your bad
ready? All
idea
right.
today, Nick?
Let's see what we have.
Your bag of
It's
tricks. Which one are you
perfect.
going to pull
It's
out for
perfect.
us?
It's perfect. You ready? Here we go.
Ready.
This is going to blow your mind because of what we were just talking about, by the way.
Okay,
Like, I
let's do
swear
it.
to God, this
Let's
is
do it.
not, I didn't know what this was going to be. Literally, AI personality predictor enhances cultural fit by using AI to analyze candidate social media emojis to predict their work vibe. I swear to God, there's no like predictive
Wow.
thing running. Like, that was our
Wow.
idea. That's
Cool,
crazy.
man. That's cool.
You
All
just
right.
gave us an
So,
analogy on how to find the right culture, and our idea is a bad AI tool that finds the culture for you.
yeah, well, let's see. You know, I was reading something the other day, and they were saying that um, emoji use is generational, right? In terms of
Yeah,
which generations use what emojis. Um, but they're also saying that when AI writes stuff, they're heavy emoji and heavy check
super heavy.
marks and
Yeah.
yeah, right. Again, to me, what I take from the emoji is why I was drawn to this visualization startup back in the day was
Mhm.
we think in pictures, right? I mean,
True.
stories, pictures, that it conveys a lot more than sometimes just the the individual word, right? So um, I think there's certainly power there. Again, I'd be hard pressed to 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 guarantee, to generate an AI tool to elect or reject candidates.
Yeah.
I'm
But even to match candidates, I like the theme of everything we've talked about on this call so far is um, AI can do repeatable processes well, and it'll get
yes,
better. But I
right,
don't think even AGI is not going to have intuition. Like, its
correct,
primary communication is binary. It's in ones and O's. It's not going to be
right,
able to like
right,
sense or read more information than is being shared, or use experience to infer. Maybe use data to infer, but not
right,
on that person.
yeah.
And as someone who's placed probably hundreds, maybe thousands of candidates, like, do you think a machine can ever get to a place where it can tell if a person's going to be a match for an organization or a culture?
Um, I don't know, man. That's a really good question. I would probably say no, but
Yeah.
I mean, we even created an AI resume tool called Aided Resume because so many people, the culture right now of a resume is if it's not on there, you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people make assumptions about, oh, well, I put, accountant in my title, so therefore they know I did all these things. Yeah, but you're not getting bubbled up because you're not being, going back to the SEO stuff, you're not being found by the tools
The
or the
screener.
people
Yeah.
recruiting because you don't match up to the right keywords, right? And then if you do get matched with the right keywords, then the user experience or the UI UX, right? Like a website, you got to get found first, and then once you
Mm-hmm.
get found and land there, you got to like what you see. You got to bring the heat. You got to bring the goods, right? I want to see the impact that you have, and I think that's where the more data we can give the tool, the better it
Mm-hmm.
could be, right? So if instead of emojis, if we could give it more content, right, and it
Yeah.
could understand our content, then there's a better chance that that AI would make some decent predictions. It's the what's not written and what's not there. I mean, that's the whole.
What has to be inferred, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
what I like, again, my mind is blown that we kind of discussed the entire theme before we saw the idea.
yeah,
But to
yeah,
anchor it back to what we were talking about earlier, we're talking about how AI is going to produce so much crap. We're going to need human beings to supervise, and you're literally building an AI that human beings supervise. Like your AI helps a human, the supervisor, create their resume. So the human's in
correct.
charge. With this
Yes,
bad idea, the AI is the curator, and that's where I
right.
think it falls apart because
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
work that way. The
right.
AI cannot curate because it has no
Yes,
intuition.
right.
You
Yeah,
know?
and I think I mean, how do I say? If you um, hmm, could you teach it the patterns though? I mean, that's the thing where there's so much. How do I?
You
So
can to
some people are.
you can to an extent, but the other side of this, and ChatGPT, I'm sure you've seen this too. 90% of the resumes we get are from ChatGPT. They're not written by the person, and like
Yeah,
people, human nature, humans as the curators, find a way to
yeah,
game the hell out of anything that they can. And the
yeah.
second you have a machine in charge, there's going to be some guy who's figuring out how to game the
Wh-
machine to make his
I-
resume show up first.
and Nick, one of the frustrations that I have with, and we just launched a tool, so it's really early, and we've kind of not done a lot
Yeah.
of advertising and marketing for it. But one of the things that I've felt from the feedback is folks still want the easy button. They want it to do the whole thing. And I'm saying, how is any tool going to know what you did, man?
No.
No tool's going to know what you did. I want to give you a structure, and I want to give you potential impactful things that you maybe could have done, that I want you to start thinking about, that you have to then think, oh gosh, did I do that? Did I have that impact? Did I do that kind of stuff? Oh, hmm, maybe I did. But it wasn't to that degree. It was a little bit lesser, or maybe it was more. Like now you're getting into, but it's like as a society, it again, it feels a little bit like if a person is a diabetic and they're not a diabetic because of they inherited it, they're diabetic because of their behavior and their patterns, and you give them the recipes, the 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 food list, the grocery store where they can go do this stuff. You give them the exercise routine, the gym they can attend. You give them the discounts. You give them everything, and then they turn around and say, "Can you give me a pill?" Right? I mean, that's our society tends to
Ozempic,
want
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We want the pill. We want the AI to do it for us. We don't
Mhm.
want to always do that long work. But like I sort of think that long work is, or that's where the real richness is. But
Mhm.
we're just
Literally.
we love
Literally.
shortcuts, man. Our society loves shortcuts, and so the
Yeah.
more shortcuts we can take, the better, right?
I think AI is going to create a lot of shortcuts to having stuff cheap, which is going to be fun. But it's going to create such an incredible need for people to make sure that stuff is moving and growing in the right direction and produce with all this time that we recuperate because we don't have to make stuff anymore.
Right.
So that's my prediction. I think the need for people who help you find the team that you're building, do what you do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some do what we do on the lower end,
Yeah.
um, is going to be the highest in history. I don't think
But do
anyone's ever
you
going
do
to have a
you
hiring need like
but
we're
like
having
what you're doing, I mean, I think it's interesting because you're not you're if I understand what you're doing correctly, you're allowing folks to basically hire the outcome,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It becomes less about the person and more about the outcome, and that's a whole different shift in terms of what people want. Some people don't want the person, they just want the outcome.
Yeah. Well, so what I think is going to happen, we'll flesh out the why and
Yeah.
where I see this coming. But what I think is going to happen, like the need for people, particularly curation side, is going to grow exponentially. And in the intermediate, like folks aren't going to know what that role is. Like, so they'll come to
Mm,
you and they'll be like, "I need something. I
right.
don't know
I don't
what
know
it
what it
is."
is. Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
you're like, "Well,
Right.
I can't. You didn't write your resume. I can't get you the job. Like, I can't find. I don't know what it is." So
Right.
that's where we'll be useful because there are you mentioned this has been the perfect conversation, soccer and football cultures.
R- Right.
What we're building is allowing people to create their own football culture. So like if someone wants
Sure.
to consult full time and they do one thing really well, they make podcast intro jingles, that's all they want to do.
Right.
There's you can either try to build a book of business doing that, which is going to be pretty brutal because you'll have ups
Yeah.
and downs like every consultant, or you can come to us and we'll just give you a feed of podcast jingles you can make and you can earn as
Right.
much as you produce. So
Right.
you're like self-selecting into the football, you're not forced into it.
Sure.
But that's the bridge. So when people don't know what they need, they can come to us and be like, let's try this. Okay, let's try this. Okay, let's try this. And on the
Yeah.
back end, we're allowing folks to build their career by executing those, allowing the
Right.
trying.
Right.
But I think what that does is help bridge the shift of, okay, now this is what my marketing and content team looks like. And the second
Hmm.
that's known, the hiring wave is going to be insane. It's going to be a race to
Right.
build the best possible team you can have.
Right.
And every time AI pushes us into a new wave of production, there's going to be a new race to hire all the people that are needed to staff that. So it's going to be wild. I think everyone thinks AI is going to devalue the human. I think the opposite's going to happen. I think you're going to see people right now who are like social media curators making like
Hmm.
$15 million a year because they can figure out how to curate 75 bots at the same time and run all of Coca-Cola's advertising themselves,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's going
Yeah.
to be wild.
Right. No, but to your point, it's going back to this. It's either 2 men in a truck or this big huge multinational.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
powers go into this 2 men in a truck because
yeah, yeah.
that's me or that expert now is going to have enterprise tools available to
Empower
them,
and
right?
power. Yeah,
And it's going to go away from um, you know, as much of the layering. Oh, we need this person to do this to do. Hey, no, look, just get the SME, and that's where the power is
yeah,
heading to that person who knows the stuff.
yeah.
So it's a really interesting time, man.
It's
I,
going to be fun.
I'm
It's
grateful
going
to
to be
be
fun.
here. I'm a little nervous, but I think that's like once someone told me once, any good decision, if you're not excited and scared at the same time, you probably haven't really thought about it, right? Because
Yeah,
if you make a big decision and you're getting married, if you're not excited about it, probably not a good move to get married. If you're not a little bit scared, you probably haven't thought of, this is a lifetime commitment that I'm making here, right? This
yeah,
is not just something you do willy nilly. If that doesn't bring a little bit of fear, you haven't probably kind of meditated on and thought enough about that longevity
yeah.
or that impact. So it's like every good decision is going to have that kind of what do they call it?
Dichotomy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like on the sword. It's going to have two edges.
knife's edge. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, knife's
yeah,
edge, right? It's going to have that duality to it. So,
yeah.
but it makes life interesting, man. Like
It
we're
keeps
not
it fun.
promised we're not promised safety. We're not promised clean boxes. You know
Yeah,
it keeps it interesting.
yeah. Well, this conversation has been fascinating. I can't believe we went so big and so early. Um, I need a final verdict from you though, even though we kind of buzzed through the bad idea.
Yeah, yeah.
I I think this one's dead. What's your gut? Is this a
Yeah,
bad
I
one?
mean I would say it's dead. I would say a better modification of the bad idea would be let's use AI to have a better personality assessment. Because to me the assessments
Yeah.
are the way I've seen them used best is,
Mhm.
how do I make you successful, not whether you're in or out, right? that
Yeah,
that to me,
yeah,
the in or out is a poor dichotomy. It's a poor
yeah,
choice. You almost have a false premise with that, right? To me, it's better
yeah,
to say, okay, what are your tendencies, and do we need those tendencies on our team? For example, if you tend to want to brainstorm ideas and always bring up the next thing and have, shiny object syndrome, well, if we have enough of those on the team, we probably don't need that on the team. But if we don't have enough of those on the team, then our next idea is not going to come unless
Mm-hmm.
someone on the team brings that to us, right? So it's sort of like an inventory and of what you're bringing, and if the AI can help us align that kind of sort of gap analysis, I think it's interesting. But I wouldn't use it for in or out.
I love how you subtly flipped it again, though. You took it from the AI making the decision on you to the AI augmenting how you integrate. So you put people back
Correct.
in charge. I think
Yeah.
that's the way it's going to work. It has to
Yeah.
be.
I hope
All
so,
right.
man. I hope so.
All right. So the book's coming out.
Yes.
Mangochamba.com is your website.
MangoChamba.com is our talent solutions website.
Yeah.
Aided Resume is our resume tool, and
All
Impact
right.
Led Careers where the book's going to end up landing. So
All right. And what
um,
about you? If
coming
people
soon.
want to talk to you for mentorship or for work, how do they
Yeah,
find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Timmy Rupeiks. There aren't too many grown men that go by Timmy. So, you know, if you put in Mango Chamba or you put in Timmy Mango Chamba, you'll find me. I tease my last name is I before E except in Rupeiks. So,
Yeah.
we try to keep things light and fun, so folks feel good and remember us.
Yeah, well, you nailed that here. This was light. This was super fun and
Awesome.
super informative. Thank you for really opening up. This is a great show.
Thanks for having us.